Hello, everyone, and welcome to today's webinar on conducting strategic product reviews, a blueprint for ROI success. My name is Sue Sivanraja. I'm the Head of Customer Success at SkyJed. I onboard clients and their product lifecycle governance frameworks in the platform and really ensure the product teams fully optimize their use of SkyJed. And today joining me is Helen Saganos.
Hi, everyone.
Chief Product Officer, who's responsible for the strategic product vision and delivery of our roadmap at SkyJed. And I will just say that this topic we're super passionate about this topic at SkyJed, so we really appreciate you joining us today, and we'll dive straight in. So some of you may or may not know who SkyJed is, so I'll do a quick walkthrough today, and then we'll start to unpack product reviews from the basics and cover the true power of conducting more strategic ones. So we'll demonstrate these through global success stories using that along with first-hand experience, and then we'll share a framework that you can use and implement straight away. And we'll also have some time at the end for any questions and answers. So please feel free to have these ready and post in the chat on your screen. So a little bit about who we are. We're founded in Australia and grown significantly over the last 5 years, and recently also headquartered in London. So there's some change there as we adapt and move to the growth that we're seeing as an organisation. We have a globally experienced leadership team to support you. And today you have Helen and myself as two examples of that. And many of us have come from a range of industries and sectors with a wealth of experience and focus on product. So it's really great to meet you today. Something we're extremely proud of are some of the awards that we've received and been receiving over the last few years, which really recognises how the platform has grown and our approach to innovation. So some of those are listed below. And if you'd like to learn more, I know this is a super short intro, but please feel free to reach out and we can definitely cover those in more detail. And now, not to take up too much time, but I want to briefly share some examples of how SkyJed has made a significant difference to our clients. So I'll just walk through the metrics that you see on the right-hand side of the screen. Firstly, SkyJed centralises many of the activities that are typically distributed across other tools and applications. So organisations are, on average, reducing time on email and shared documents. Those activities are now largely conducted in SkyJed, creating more certainty around documentation, your audit trail, and generating time savings. So the second point there now also is really just to share some of the client experiences that I've had. Their ability to conduct regular product reviews using a consistent framework across their organisation is seeing a significant time saving. And with a set of product tools, conducting reviews across large groups of portfolios is really a true game changer. And finally, what we're seeing firsthand from our clients is that the time taken to prepare stakeholder reporting is saving more than 90% of their time. Now, this figure is quite alarming, I know, but it definitely demonstrates the power of centralising product lifecycle management documentation and performance data in that one location. So just really to wrap up before we move on, SkyJed, the platform, is mission control for your business and offers a wealth of tools to support your entire organisation. So think of SkyJed as a tool that streamlines product activities and processes to save your team's time so they can focus on more strategic and high-value activities. So I'll just hand over to Helen. So here you go.
Thanks, Sue. Hi, everyone. I hope you are having a great day. But first things first, I'm going to come clean that conducting product reviews is something I'm really passionate about. However, it wasn't something that I was in my early product career days. But once you experience the power or the continuous power of conducting regular strategic product reviews and the learnings you get from each review, and how it can be your ticket to get your product strategy back on track, or to detect early risks, or to have pivotal breakthroughs of key insights that can really be a game changer to your product strategy. you will become a big fan of conducting regular product reviews. And you won't always get pivotal breakthroughs with conducting regular product reviews, but you will always get small, bite-size or mid-size successes as a result of conducting them. And then those collectively all contribute to your product success. But let's first start with decoding a strategic product review. So, in my earlier days, it used to feel like it was this big task that I didn't completely understand what it entailed. But essentially, it is a structured evaluation conducted regularly. And by regularly, we mean something that's not done every 12 months or 18 months or 2 years or 3 years, as some organisations still do today. It's something that's conducted regularly so you can have the most up-to-date information around your product's performance and how it aligns with your business objectives and the current evolving market conditions or customer experiences, which then allows you to make informed decisions in real time, and you can make those continual adjustments so you are in the best position to achieve growth and success. And I just want to give a bit of a backstory. So, unfortunately, I have been in my product career has spanned over more than 2 decades now. But in my earlier days, what was considered a product review was, you used to do a product plan, and you used to do that every 12 to 36 months, and that would contain data preceding that period of 12 to 36 months. So your data was quite old. And quite often you were asked really key critical decisions about what are you doing today around your product strategy, and you literally didn't have all of the data or the insights on hand. And so you always felt that whilst you were the product expert, you weren't able to make the right decisions with what you had. Sorry, I just yeah. So, what was common is that finance used to produce a monthly report of some KPIs, which weren't always product centric, and they were important and contributed, but it didn't give you the deep, rich insights broken down to product level. So that's why I suppose in terms of product lifecycle management, strategic product reviews is really important to get that continual information. So we'll just move on into why regular strategic product reviews matter, which I've touched on some key points, but I will just work through some of these in a bit more detail. So they basically ensure that you are continuously checking in and aligning your product goal objectives and seeing how they're tracking, but also aligning to your overall business strategy. And in doing so and checking those metrics and evaluation criteria regularly, you're able to seize new opportunities that could be emerging. But you can also then use that to also detect early risks around competitor threats, customer experiences, changing market conditions. And then as a result of that current information, you're also able to make better decisions around return on investment. If you've only got a limited resource pool or a budget, you've got all these priorities, but you've got to make decisions around what is going to give you the best bang for your buck, or in terms of the resources that you have available. It also means that you can stay agile and adapt in dynamic markets. Our customer expectations are growing and evolving, as is our market and technology advancement. So that means you've got to continually stay on top of those emerging conditions. And it also fosters a culture of continuous improvement. It's okay to not have all the information. It's okay to continually learn and change your strategy or adapt your strategy based on the information you have at that point in time. And that's really important, because if you set your strategy 12 or 24 months ago and you stick to only fulfilling that strategy, but if your conditions have changed and you're keeping to your strategy by the time it's completely fulfilled may not be meeting your business objectives or your strategic objectives around your product. So in essence, a strategic product review that's conducted regularly is your compass that guides growth and pivotal breakthroughs. And so I'll now move into providing some real-world examples of big brands that you're probably across, but also in terms of some of my team's achievements over the years. So Dropbox, one of their key learnings as part of their product reviews was that their pricing strategy was way too confusing and complex. And when they simplified their pricing based on conducting deep dives with their customers and market feedback and seeing what their competitors were doing, they saw an increase in customers, a significant increase in terms of a take-up, but also in revenue. Netflix, we're probably all overdue for a big binge day of Netflix coming up. Hopefully everyone gets to catch up on some of their favourite sessions. But, I mean, we all know that they're very highly successful. The stats that you see on the screen, are pretty demonstrate that. But what is pivotal is that what they saw when they conducted their strategic reviews was that their DVD business was in decline, but the streaming business was growing and it was at the cusp of real new technology advancements. And so they changed direction to focus only on streaming and exited their DVD business, probably well ahead of their competitors. And so the results speak for themselves. The next one is around Amazon. We all know Amazon is highly successful, but they continually learn and improve. And one of their key learnings from their regular reviews is that they recognise that their return policy was created friction around certain buyers buying products because the process was quite complex and lengthy. And so as a result, they weren't necessarily maximising the opportunities around sales. And so they simplified their return policy. They made it fast and effective and simple for their customers. And as a result, directly saw an increase of 10% increase in sales. And Adobe was at the cusp of sort of looking at how they could increase revenues around licensing. And they did a lot of insights around how they could do that and saw that there was an opportunity to change their licensing to subscription-based. And as a result, they saw a significant increase in take-up and revenues of over 50%. So they're just some, common brands that we're all aware in terms of some key items that they've been able to achieve as a result of their strategic product reviews. I'll now touch on some of the key achievements that I've been privy to with my teams through conducting regular reviews. And I'm not going to touch on all of these 4 examples. There's plenty more I could talk about for days on end, but I'll touch on sort of 2 key examples, and then we've got plenty of people that watch our webinar recordings and you can read through some of these notes. But tracking and conducting product reviews is not always about only looking at the key item or the key metric that shines is around sales and revenue, because sales and revenue are really important and critical, but they're not always going to be the metrics that drive the results around growth or success. So they're really important, but I just want to show some examples around, well, what else can you look at when you look at strategic product reviews? What are the metrics that really can help make a difference? So the first one is, a major Australian hardware manufacturer that provides products to major hardware retailers in Australia. Their sales and revenue and their customer satisfaction was tick, tick, tick. They were on point, on forecast. They had growth. However, their cost of goods and their gross margin and as a result, their net profit margin were continually in decline, and the two weren't adding up. And so when they did a deep dive as a result of understanding these figures, they found that there was a significant change in policy around the stock that they were keeping on hand in China. And as a result, their storage costs went through the roof. And so just by looking at those deep dives of what contributed to the cost of goods going up and therefore was impacting the margin, they had a 10% increase in net profit margin just by making those changes, and they saw the effects of those within a quarter. So that's just one example. Another example was where, a CCTV provider that was a tier 1 and specialised and had the most market share in the enterprise market and had a very strong reoccurring revenue. saw that their new revenue was plateauing. They weren't having any growth. And we're talking about a provider that does massive projects around airports, banks, streets and roads. And so when they did a deep dive around those metrics around, they were seeing that their competitors were growing, their quarterly revenues were growing, and their distributors were starting to complain around product feedback. And so they unpacked that and found that what they found was that the enterprise market was plateauing in terms of growth. But at that point in time, the consumer, the mums and dads, anyone that lives in a house, and the small to mid-sized businesses were starting to take up CCTV solutions. Now, today, that's a very common thing, but 10 years ago, that was only for early adopters. And so they found that they didn't have a product offering for those markets. Their specs were too high and too expensive. So they focused on building a product suite for those particular markets. And in just 3 months, they achieved $3 million in sales. So that was an emerging trend that they weren't on top of. By the time they realised that their competitors had generated over $50 million in sales in those markets that they had missed. Now, they were able to catch up and bring that back on track. But it was when they started conducting regular product reviews that they were able to unpack that opportunity. So that's probably it for this, providing some real examples. Now I want to focus on, well, how do you get started if you don't do this today? And at SkyJet, we believe about making things easy, structured, and really simplified in 4 key steps. So the first thing is, it's really important for any product team or product division to define what their strategic product review framework is going to be. And that is about what are the objectives, what is the cadence that you're going to conduct your product reviews. And then once you've established that, is what are the metrics and the evaluation criteria that we're going to regularly assess our products against. And how we're going to document that information and data, where we're going to store it, and how we're going to share insights and actions. And step 1 is a set and forget activity. So you set it up, and then you can review it every now and then to say, well, do we need to make updates to this? Step 2 is about scheduling your product reviews and locking them in the organisation calendar. Communicate it to everyone, lock it in the calendar, don't change it, and lock them in. And that's a sort of set and forget aspect as well. The third one is obviously completing your reviews. And obviously, as teams complete their reviews, they collaborate with their stakeholders in order to get the necessary information. And then you share your insights and learnings and actions with all your stakeholders for transparency and alignment. And this is really powerful, doing this continually. So the next couple of slides is just showing some examples of a product review framework. We like to do things on a page. So this just highlights that this, an example here of an organisation where they're going to conduct an annual product review and a quarterly lean product review. So the annual product review is very extensive. It has over 30 evaluation criteria metrics. It goes across key product domains of health around revenue, value, customer experience, innovation, regulatory, and sustainability. And it measures against strategic goals and what you've committed to. And it's an opportunity to look at your long-term strategies and key programs for improvement. Versus your lean product review is conducted every quarter, and it focuses purely on your top 12 strategic metrics. Again, across the product domains of health. But you can see some examples there. You're looking at revenue, which is really important, but you're also equally looking at product market share and your competitor intelligence and your customer complaints and net promoter score. So that's really targeted, top 12 metrics. And these are just examples. Every organisation will have different metrics that are important to their strategic objectives. The last thing I want to highlight is that governance is really important. So you do need to make sure that once these reviews are conducted, there is a forum where product leaders can communicate the learnings and the outcomes as a result of conducting the review. And also equally important is the methodology. So there's many ways you can conduct product reviews in terms of how you document the information and share it. So there's more traditional ways, but it's really clear that everyone understands the methodology. So I'll just touch on that in a little bit in the next few slides. So if we just move. So this particular slide is around, this is just a snapshot of some of the metrics that SkyJet has in their platform, and it's not the extensive list. But it just goes to show that when you do start to identify the metrics that matter for your reviews, you start small across all your domains of product health. So you can see the domains around design, revenue, sustainability, etc. And you identify the metrics that are most important to achieving and monitoring your products against your strategic objectives, and you build on those iteratively. So you don't want it to be a really overwhelming task to begin with, and then you build on that. But this is just showing you that it's extensive. You can measure across a plethora of criteria, but the important thing that it's structured and everyone's doing that comparatively. And the last thing is around the methodology. So how do you capture the data and the valuable information and container history? So there's no right or wrong way. People do it on a PowerPoint template, an Excel template, in a shared drive. They are effective, no ifs about it. Just doing the task of product reviews is effective. But one of the things is to consider is that if you do embark on this, is that traditional tools do require more effort. There is a higher manual burden, and it is prone to various inefficiencies where you can lose versions, you don't have as many collaboration smarts, you can lose data. And you don't have automated reporting quite often. So whilst effective, we want to highlight that is something that is good, but with SkyJet we can make that more powerful, and so it gives teams more time to focus on the important priorities around what their product strategies should be, and build on those. So I think that's probably coming up to now, Sue, to sort of give an example of how monitoring, performing product reviews in SkyJet can be quite useful.
Thanks, Helen. I just find those stories incredible of how they've been able to turn that around doing strategic product reviews. So I'm just going to sort of walk through a video of how you can implement some of these methodologies that Helen's just talked about. So you're probably seeing on your screen now that you can select those key strategic product review metrics, and it's easy using the SkyJet, what we call the driver library. So under the 6 areas of product health, we've pre-built information prompts so that you can use those in your reviews. And just clicking on this net cost to acquire driver, if you're using this driver, you can expect to enter information relating to your actuals to forecast. And the idea is you select your driver metrics and group them into templates. So these just an example of some of the drive templates that you have available in the platform. You can also easily create your own template. It takes minutes. We're finding that the parameters that are set in the templates are really helping product teams across the organizations to be aligned in their strategic review process. And now in terms of setting your schedule, so here you can schedule these strategic product reviews in advance. You select the template you want to use. As we just saw earlier, you can create them. And here I'm setting a recurring annual product review for the next few years. And we're seeing this as a handy feature for all sized organizations so that they can, again, align their strategic review schedule across their organization. And it just allows for better planning and better streamlining across their monitoring schedule. So once you've completed this, what you can see here is your product review schedule, which is pretty much a set and forget feature. And you'll also receive email reminders within your window period. And here, another set and forget feature is the workflow. So for each product, you can set up product triggers and threshold limits to automate risk factors and identify opportunities. And when you start to conduct your review, these triggers will automatically assess the data that you populate in your reporting period and notifies you of the action. And here I'm just showing an example of how you can conduct your product review and enter your performance data. And if you're working in a team, we've got collaborative tools to allow you to make comments. And you can manually enter data or do a CSV upload. We have large organizations conducting data integrations. They're finding huge time savings there. So it's easy to publish your reviews and walk through the approval gateway process. And in the meantime, your workflows will run in the background. And here, just in terms of the version history, again, product and compliance teams actually really love this sort of tool because you've got all that information and audit trail in one place. And it just makes for ease of reviewing that in that centralized location. And the most powerful part, really, key time saving factor that we talked about earlier, is the ability to eliminate the number crunching on spreadsheets. Your data that you input into SkyJet automatically pop into a range of dashboards centered on product performance, giving you time back to spend more time on strategic data-driven decisions. So we've got a number of SkyJet dashboards here, as well as making your own. So here you can also automate risks and opportunities, and these are automatically generated based on your product review data and product thresholds that you've built in the workflow. So really the idea is to populate your risk plan in this situation here. Then I would say really it's just as easy as working through and mitigating those risks, as well as identifying those opportunities sort of early and assessing those as well. So that's just really a quick overview. So what I want to do now is just walk through any Q&A, any questions or answers that you'd like answered.
So I've got one that was sent by someone that couldn't attend.
Right.
I'm watching the recording. So what the question was is SkyJet secure?
Do you want me to answer that one? Yeah, I'll do that. So yes, SkyJet is secure. It's built on an enterprise-grade ISO 27001 certified AWS infrastructure, ensuring the highest level of data security. So your information is fully protected within our secure platform, and the access really is restricted to authorized users, including single sign-on as well, with multi-factor authentication. So it's widely recognized. We get that question actually quite a lot. So that was good that came up.
Yeah. And then another one is that we often get asked in all of our deep dive sessions is, what's the best way to start, and how many metrics is a good starting point. And our recommendation is first to identify all the important metrics that matter. And that list can be really extensive. We often start with organizations and they can come up with 60 to 80 metrics.
They do.
But then what we do is we work through prioritizing those metrics, how important are they, and how do they measure against the corporate strategic objectives. And we prioritize those into, 1 and 2 objectives. And then we say, well, is it important to measure these annually, quarterly, biannually, monthly? And so we then dissect it further. And often that brings us to, it could be that you have a monthly product review that looks at the top 8 metrics, and then a quarterly one that looks at 12, and then an annual that looks at all the balance. So there's no right or wrong answer, but that's the methodology that we often employ. The other consideration is that list could still be quite extensive across all those 3 reviews, but we always say to start small and build on it iteratively, so you can get all the data together. You can set up automation if that's a priority, and it's so to not overwhelm all the product teams that will be working on these product reviews, and then just build on that iteratively. But we work with organisations, just work through that and what the objectives and the priorities are.
Yeah, I'll just add to that actually that our onboarding program just helps to implement and identify those key objectives. So instead of having that broad overlook, we really go back down to just those the simplified objectives that align to the organisational goals, as you mentioned. So I think it's sort of that time to sort of wrap up, and over to you.
Yeah, so I suppose obviously we've done this really quickly, but we've been able to highlight that product reviews and regular product reviews are the catalysts for, your strategic alignment, having the data in order to make impactful decisions, in order to deliver the outcomes and objectives for your organisation. And obviously, Sue and I are available anytime to for any further questions, or if anyone wants to do a deeper dive and a deeper demonstration of how we can help support strategic product reviews for your organisation. So
Thank
thank
you.
you, everyone. Thanks for your time.
Great. Thanks.
Bye.